You sure about that? You sure about that?
Okay. Okay. So, Xbox president declares exclusives to be outdated following multi-platform shift. I've got to hear this. How can you say that when the two companies that are kicking your booty are known for their exclusives, especially Nintendo? But Sony's got its exclusives. Now, we haven't been getting as many as we want lately with this generation, but still, they've got their exclusives. The joke about Xbox is you got no games. They say that all the time, even though we know you do. You know what they mean. Xbox has completely shifted its approach to the gaming industry over the last year or two. In addition to making consoles and Game Pass more expensive, the gaming giant has practically abandoned the idea of exclusives altogether. Moreover, Microsoft has delved further into the world of OEMs with the release of the ROG Xbox Ally. In a recent interview, Xbox President Sarah Bond discussed this strategy further, dubbing the concept of exclusives antiquated. Those antiques are sure enough still working for Nintendo and Sony. Why it matters. Both PlayStation and Nintendo still focus on exclusivity. Albeit to a lesser extent, it seems Xbox, on the other hand, has completely given up on the idea. Yeah, because you were buying up all those companies and people were, like, wow, they're going to get all these exclusives. It just didn't seem to really work out that way. When we asked about the future of potential Xbox exclusives, Sarah Bond noted that the biggest games today are available across all platforms. She believes that people have evolved past the concept of games being tied to a particular system. No, they haven't. Yeah, you've got big games like, like Fortnite, stuff like that. But people still gravitate toward Sony or Nintendo or both for their exclusives. As a matter of fact, once you're done being a child that can't afford all the systems, the adults, the young adults, the adults that have the money, they buy all the systems so that they can get all the exclusives. Why do you think I got the Xbox downstairs? Why do you think that I have that giant paperweight sitting downstairs collecting dust? Because I thought I was going to be putting out a bunch of cool games that I was going to want to play that Sony did not have. Sony in particular, because I do not play Nintendo. Not anymore. They've burned the fandom enough. They burned gaming enough. They burned the industry enough. They've totally destroyed their reputation. As examples, she highlights games like Minecraft, Call of Duty, Fortnite, and Roblox. According to Sarah Bond, Xbox is leaning into the idea of making games available to people across a variety of devices. Well, guess what? Unless you plan on making a bunch of games like this that are that big, that are all cross-platform, it don't seem like it's going to work out for you. Because we have the evidence of Nintendo and Sony still beating you. She also went on to say that options like cloud gaming, PC and consoles open a slew of new possibilities in the gaming world. This is why Sarah Bond believes exclusives are antiquated at this point. Now, of course, Microsoft, they PC is, hey, they've got that, But we're talking about consoles specifically. When you're talking about the console war or whatever you want to call it, they can't seem to get a foothold. They can't seem to get a one-up, on top of that damn mountain. The statement is interesting. Consider interesting since Xbox is still making a premium console for the next generation, one that will presumably have next to no exclusive content. Like Xbox, PlayStation has pushed for more frequent PC releases recently. However, the gaming giant is still moving forward with a hybrid strategy involving console exclusives. I don't know. It just makes me, good Lord. Most recently, the gaming giant released exclusives like Ghost of Yotai, Death Stranding 2. Nintendo also remains committed to exclusives. Like that's their thing. Like with Nintendo, that's their thing. That's their exclusives are their bread and butter. Staying true to the roots of distinct console experiences. What do you think about this perspective? Listen. Everything seems to be burning down for Xbox right now. Things seem to be getting worse. Hey, I would love to see if she's correct in the future. I would love to see that, but I don't see the proof. I don't. Yes, those games exist, cross-platform, all that good stuff. But the guys that are kicking your butt are still known for their exclusives. And people buy them for their exclusives. It's been that way since I was a kid, man. Since I can remember of games having exclusives. I think it may have started with, because with, everybody had an Atari. I had a 2600, and then a couple of my boys had the other ones, like the 5200 and the 7800. But that was all Atari. But then with Nintendo, then you had the Sega Master System. And I think the Master System had some different stuff, but I didn't know anyone who had it except for one person, and we never really played it at all. We were always playing Nintendo. Then after that, specifically, I absolutely remember Super Nintendo and Genesis having different games, exclusives. And I remember PlayStation getting a PlayStation because of its exclusives. I remember that, and the big fact that it was CD-ROM. And the Nintendo 64, which was going to be called the Ultra 64, was going to go CD-ROM based. I was huge. I loved, back then specifically, and everyone knows it, all gamers loved cinematic scenes, the cinematics, the stuff that like Final Fantasy VII did. Like, we loved that cinematic experience, and which it first started for me with Ninja Gaiden on the NES. I remember that cinema scenes. They always called them cinema scenes, and it was like, like watching a movie or an anime. It was so cool to us to see stuff like that. And I knew CD-ROMs could hold more info, so you could get bigger games and everything. But they went stupid cartridge based, and to hell with that system. But I also came into a little bit of extra money while I was in college, working and doing things, and I got me a Sega Saturn. Why? Because Sega Saturn was PlayStation's competition. And Sega Saturn had all of the fighting games. You could get them, and I'm talking about like Capcom with the with high animation frames. Like they would drop frames of animation to fit them on certain systems. And PlayStation sucked at it. And so if you wanted to play like all of like, like X-Men versus Street Fighter, like all that stuff, you had to get a Sega Saturn. And they even had a RAM cartridge that you could use that would hold all the extra frames of animation. And there was another cartridge you could get when you bought them from Japan so that you could get them to work on your USA. So I had both of them. Why? Exclusives. Why did I get the Dreamcast? Exclusives. Why did I get the GameCube? Exclusives. And so on and so forth. The 360, PS3, PS4. You know what I mean? All for the exclusives. I don't know what she's talking about. 10 million subscribers. Woo!